Well, welcome everybody. This is my presentation on how to build credit to obtain a mortgage or basically anything your heart desires. First thing, I know it seems simple, but it's very important because it's just like somebody getting in a car and they telling you they can drive, but then when it's time to drive, they're like, I don't know where to go. So knowing where you're going is the best thing. Being able to see that, you don't know what's on your credit report, how do you even know? It's a funny statistic. The most people with good credit actually know their credit score. And when you ask them on their credit score, they're like, I don't know. 9.5 times out of 10 is probably not a good score. So monitoring your credit is very good. And not Credit Karma, because Credit Karma is what they call free. So there's not much when you get from free service. And they only give you TransUnion and Equifax. You know, you actually got 3 credit reports experience. So you want to get all 3, and then Credit Karma is definitely not giving you all the details. You got names, phone numbers, addresses that you actually need to make it correct in the event of applying for anything. If there are discrepancies, that could be the reason for denial. So that's why we don't use Credit Karma. It's not detailed enough to give us a success picture. So these are some that I do recommend. Identity IQ, that's a great one. They offer your Vantage score and your FICO score. You know, the FICO score is what the banks are actually looking for. But most credit monitoring sites are giving you a Vantage score. So please be aware, 9 times out of 10, if you're not on a MyFICO or Identity choosing your FICO score, you're usually getting your Vantage score. And Vantage score is okay, it's close, but it's not what the banks are looking for. And then I got ScoreSense on here because they are actually a creditor monitoring service. Both of these are usually about $30, $31 a month. But with ScoreSense, you can actually call them and tell them $30 a month is too much, and they will lower it down to $13 a month. So for my people that's just wanting some cheaper credit monitoring service, ScoreSense is one that I would say just give them a call, say, look, this monthly amount is too much, they'll lower it down to $13. So that's probably the cheapest credit monitoring service with all 3 credit bureaus that you can get that I've seen. So, and then, so if you are so new, you may not even be able to pull a credit report because, you know, they got to pull something. So if you don't have any file or history, then I would recommend just going out a secured card, maybe a rent reporters, or maybe what else? A boost on Experian or something, just to generate a score, a utility bill, any of those things, just to generate a score or something, so they can be able to pull you up. And then this is so important. I know you're like, dang, we know this already. Like, but why I use this is because this is how we're gonna play the game, knowing what's important to them. So if we know payment history has the highest percentage, then we understand that's what we're doing. We need a lot of payment history. That's what these banks are looking for. So as we build up in our accounts, we understand the goal of accounts is to get payment history. More accounts, more payment history. And remember, that's our biggest box, so that's what's most important. And then second is utilizations. Once we get these accounts, they say, okay, you got a lot of accounts, let us see how you're gonna manage them. So you're showing them keeping utilization, or understand, that's funny, utilization should be under 30%, but that's also the percent of the weighting it is of your total score. But if you ask me, I would teach anyone under 20%, or really just keep $1 down there. We'll talk about the dollar later. But utilization, so payment history and keeping that credit down is the 2 most important things when you're building credit. I'm gonna say it again. Payment history and keeping that utilization down is the 2 most important things when you're building credit. And then we got age of accounts. They wanna see how long you've been doing it. For an auto loan, it's usually 3 accounts or more for at least a year to get approved for an auto loan. And from my research for a mortgage, they wanna see about 2 years of experience and history. So keep that in mind. You're gonna have to play this game for a little bit and be diligent. You can't just do something for a short time and just jump in the game. We wanna see years of responsibility. And then, so the average age, we would say for a mortgage or a car loan, we would say 2 years. So that's what we're working on, a 2-year trajectory right now. And then inquiries. That's just new accounts that you've been applying for. They wanna see how many new accounts you wanna apply for. Usually we would say no more than 2 to 3 inquiries on the credit report. And of course, removing inquiries aren't the hardest thing in the world, so all you need to get with someone who specializes in credit if you have an inquiry issue, and that can easily be resolved. So as you can see, it's a smaller weighting, so that's why it's a smaller issue. And then credit mix. The system is kind of backwards. Most people think get out of debt is what you should accomplish, but the system actually rewards people for debt. So one of the funny things is if you zero your credit out, your credit score will actually be lower than keeping a balance, like I said, just $1. Because to them, it's a balance. You're in debt. Funny, crazy thing that how the system works. So remember, they want different products. We got what they call revolving credit, i.e. a credit card, a line of credit. We got what they call installment credit, just a regular loan, and then we got installment loans that's unsecured and secured. So we talking about an unsecured, just be a regular loan, there's no collateral. We talking about a secured loan, then there's collateral, a mortgage, a car loan. So those are different type of mix when we're talking about installment credit, we got revolving, and then now we're talking about just, what's our other category? Well, no, just revolving and installment. And now that I think about it, yeah, that's all we have is those two things right there. So either you got something that's secured by collateral, or they're just giving you the money like a line of credit or a credit card or a loan. So good credit mix is good to have because they reward you for having these different products. So if you just had 5 credit cards, your score is not going to be as high as if you had 5 credit cards, a loan, and maybe a car loan. So they want to see you getting all these different products. And then even though a mortgage is considered secured or a collateral-based installment loan, that still is different from an auto loan. So just because you say I got an auto loan, you say, all right, I got a collateral-based loan. No, they want an auto loan, they want a mortgage, they want a credit card, they want a regular loan. They want to see you being able to dip into all these different pots. And once you show responsibility in all these different areas, then now what you're doing is creating your mix. Because the total goal, our first goal is to try to get at least 5 accounts. But the total goal, when we get our real score, what we're going to be calculating is at least 10. But we're going to start out with 5 just to keep it simple. And these are just some simple, easy ones we can get. Self-lending. That's one that basically just attaches to your bank account. So that's an easy one. They're going to report in the history, your bank account, things you're doing, transactions. They're going to report it as a credit line, be considered revolving. So that's helping you in the event of getting a credit card approval. Credit Strong. That's a service, and all these are paid services. They're just a couple dollars a month. I think like $3 or $5, maybe $15 at the most. But the key thing is, investing in yourself is the key to wealth. Anyone that's ever been successful, they had to be able to invest in themselves. So a lot of times, we want things, but we just want them and not understand the power of how we really get things. We really get things. The more we're willing to put into something, the more we're willing to get out of it. So just keeping that investing type mindset when we're doing these things. We're investing in ourselves. And so Credit Strong is one. We'll say what it does, you can pick between the lines. I think they got maybe 500, 1,000, or 1,500, just depending on how strong you want your credit. So you in control of what investment you make. And then a secured credit card. That's how I started. That's actually one of the most easiest and recommended ways. And the thing with the secured credit card is you want to go to your local bank that you're banking with. They're probably one of the easiest people. Don't worry about applying online anywhere. Where you bank at is probably the easiest place to get a secured credit card. The key to a secured credit card is the more you give yourself, the more they're going to be willing to give you when you finally go to get a credit card approval. So some people may only have $300 to $500 sitting around. That's okay. Go spend that. Maybe if it's $200. But if you maybe are a cash-heavy person that just haven't been using credit because you don't understand it, now you're going to heighten your odds. If you got $5,000 or $10,000 you go put on a secure credit card, you manage that for 6 to 8 months, and what you're going to tell them is, dang, they've shown they're responsible with this limit. The first limit they're going to give you is somewhere around there. But if you've been dealing with $300 or $500, then you know what your limit is going to be expectedly. But if you can't control that with the amount of cash that you have at your access, then that's just something to be aware of. The more cash, more you can set yourself up for higher limits when you're going for unsecured credit. And say we covered where, and then we cover how much. So a secure loan is another thing we're going to put on top of it. So we got 1, 2, 3 accounts already. Secure loan going to be our 4th one. So at that same bank, we want to split it up. We want a secure credit card, we want a secure loan. Because remember, we talked about the mix earlier. We want to get products in these different areas so we can help our score. So secure loan, same bank, whatever amount of money you got, remember the more money you can put on it, the better it's going to be for your odds when approval is time to go to unsecured. And then Grain is another program online. You can just pull it up. It's an app. What they're going to do is report a preliminary or revolving account for you just to give you that history. And Cold Card is the same thing, just other accounts you can add, and then you can pick or you can add them all. And of course, I have many other ones, but this is just to get started, so you're not overwhelmed. Some do's and some don'ts. Department store cards are just you telling them that you don't really want to master this credit thing because they got what they call 4 tiers of credit. Tier 1 is your Amex, your Wells Fargo, your Chases, your big banks of the world. Tier 2 is going to be your credit unions. Tier 3 is going to be your regional banks, like all your local banks that's just not in other places. They just here locally. Tier 4, guess what it is? It's the department store cards, the most frowned upon cards that they have for credit. That's your TJ Maxx, your JC Penney, your all of. Do not apply for those cards to get lower interest. Do not do that. So that's really going to hurt you down the line because no credit card company is going to reward you for seeing that. They're looking at it like, no, this person, they don't understand. And those actually, they come with higher interest rates as well. And then also the store credit cards. Like, now we're not talking about department store like JCPenney. We're talking about your Walmarts, your Costco, your all those. You don't want those personal cards because you want to get set up for higher tier cards with better benefits. So when other lenders are looking at you, they're like, dang, they were willing to take a chance on them, less us. But then if you're going with a lower tier credit card, like, oh, anybody can get those. So you want to set yourself up for success, the best success. One of the things that's very important is before you even get started, you can get started on the wrong path if there's inaccurate information reported. I've seen a lot of times when it's time to go dispute on a negative account, it was because negative information was reported in the first place. They never cleared it up. So now when let's go back, it looked like that there was their information. So if you start out with a clean slate, making sure all your information is correct, then that would be a great start because you won't have to worry about discrepancies. The key thing to making sure your information is correct, if you pull up a credit report, you might have 3 old addresses, you might have 3 different variations of your name, you might have all 16 cell phone numbers that you had your whole time. You don't want any of that on the credit report. You want all that to be cleared up. You want one number, one name, one address, and one phone number, and one employment, one employer. You just want one of everything. That's very important. You don't want a full report, all these different variations. It actually shows instability. And that's what you want to show, stability. You want to say, you know what, I've been working at this same job, living at this same place, had the same phone number for as long as possible. But having one on there, you illustrate that picture. So that's important. So you say, how long do I have to do this for? First thing, student loans actually help. So if you're in college or you still got student loans that's in forbearance that are not being paid yet, that's actually helping credit history. You consider that as an account. And then we know what student loan is, that's unsecured credit. So that would be considered an installment account, helping that lane. So student loans are good, but one thing to keep in mind, student loans are factored into your DTI when you get the mortgage. So that's the downside of it when buying a home. They're going to factor in those overall payments. So even though you say, I'm not paying those now, we've got to be able to calculate that and understand our income has to be able to support going for a mortgage. So a lot of people get into the mortgage phase and get denied, not knowing that they were factoring student loans, but we're going to be ahead of the game now. We know how to set ourselves up for success. And then, so now we want those secured cards to secure on everything for 6 to 8 months minimum. We make good payment history. We keeping the balances low. And then remember, that's our money. We don't want to pay interest on our money. So the goal is to basically zero it out, or we play the dollar game, just leave a dollar there. But we don't want to be using it like it's a credit card. That's our money. That's the most backwards thing in the world, to go get charged interest on your own money. So we don't want to get charged on money that the bank loans us. So getting charged interest on your money is like, you're in control of the ship, right? So please don't do that. After our 6 to 8 months minimum, now we're going to put ourselves in position to actually go get unsecured credit. And the total goal is at least 2 years of consistency. We talked about that earlier. That's what we're going after. So we're not just going to get gung-ho after 6 to 8 months after we start getting approved for these other cards. We're going to continue to keep it going because remember the 2 most important things, payment history and utilization. So after we get, what do we do next? The next step is just making sure no lates, and we're making sure that all our balances are intact. And then authorized users is another hack that you can use. If you're going for maybe business funding or if you're trying to get approved for the mortgage, I don't recommend authorized users. But trying to get a personal credit card, an authorized user works perfectly. And the thing with authorized users is there's multiple ways you can skin that cat. Starting off with, if you have, like I say, you just got 6 to 8 months of history, you don't got much to show. Usually you want to see 3 to 5 years minimum to get approved for a credit card or many things. Usually in a secured loan, why am I having trouble with this word? A secured loan, like a car or a mortgage, they usually don't want you to have as long a history as these other credit cards to boost your high because it's secured by collateral. So that's why they're a lot more lenient as far as the score and the time frame. But with credit cards, they're like, we're just giving you this money. So we're going to limit how much you give you if your history is not showing that long, managing these type of amounts. What Authorized User does, since computers are quickly giving you a response, if you had 8 months of history and you get a 30-year Authorized User and you got 5 accounts as one, now we got 30 years factored into 8 months, it averages out from the 6 accounts into 30 years. So now that average will make it 5 years. So now what you did is gave yourself more history to the algorithms to get approved for a personal card. That's a benefit of Authorized Users when you're going for personal credit. Another thing is there's a cost of Authorized Users typically in the industry, and it's an investment, I would say. So a person, if they understand what they're to get on the other side, it's not a cost to them, it's an investment. So that's one thing a lot of people say, I want to pay this. No, you're investing in yourself, so feel free to do that. So there's 2 ways you can do it. You could pay someone or look for someone, or like I did, I found some people around me with great credit, with long history, and it was just the love that they were able to do it. We shared some love and they added me. So, you can give them some love and it don't have to cost you, or that investment, I'll say. So that's another way you can do it. You don't have to worry about just it being an extra fee. If you're resourceful and you got people around, you can just simply add them to a credit card and it can be a simple, easy thing for you. So next thing after we do that, if we decide we want to go Authorized Users, we want to apply for some unsecured cards now. Now we're going to get to the fun part. These are some of the most friendly lenders when we're talking about establishing early credit. So Capital One, almost everybody know about them. I don't really like them or recommend them. This is just for a person that wants to get started and other options may not be as available. And I want to make you aware of easy options. They're always willing to approve you. They probably give you $300 and never raise your limit ever again, no matter how better your credit gets. So that's what we don't say with Capital One, because they are just, man. They have other cards for higher limits, but that entry platinum that they give you, oh my God, yes. So Discover, they have the student card, they have the entry card, so they're real friendly after you've established just a small level of credit. They're giving intro cards. Chase, that's the big dog. That's actually, I believe, one of our biggest banks. We got Chase, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley. So Chase is a big dog. They are really lenient to new credit. And then that's the company that you want to stick with and grow with. So that is a great place to go. And then, of course, who's more inclined to give you more money? The bank that you've been managing your secured loan and credit card with. You're going to apply there. And then now we should have about one, two, three, 4, and then that auto loan that you should be available for after a year. We got 5 accounts here. These are new accounts. And remember, we got 5 old accounts, so we accomplished our 10 now, right? Now what we're able to do, because 10 accounts count, and they have an algorithm of FICOs. How many accounts, how long, so we understand 10 is the number minimum to get our highest, best score when we're talking about the credit algorithm. So that's why 10 is our number at minimum, whether they're closed or open. So the benefit of this is after you get these open ones, that money that you had ducked off for those secured loan, secured credit card, you have to get that back. How you like that? So now you can close those accounts because you don't need secure going any longer once you have these accounts. You can now get that money back and invest it in something else, and you continue your flawless history and maintaining balance. That is the whole key to credit. I gotta drive that in. People think credit is just having access to it and then using an emergency. That's not actually what credit is for. Credit is a game to play. I give you an example. Like, understand that you say, all right, how do you apply that to reality? When I bought my hot tub, it was $10,000. Of course, I could just go buy and spend the cash, go buy it. But I'm like, Lawrence, there's no reward for spending cash. So use credit. I understand payment history. I also understand I hadn't had a loan on my credit in a minute. So I'm like, go down to your bank where you know you get approved for a loan, use the money from the loan, pay them, and then go take the cash and pay the loan back, and then spend it. I got a $15,000 loan because I knew I was going to spend $10,000. So I put the $10,000 in there and just paid the $5,000 back over months. And what I was doing was getting payment history because I understand that's one of the most important metrics of the credit report. So if we say we got cash, don't just stop using credit. We don't get no benefit. I take it another step. When we're using cash, we don't get any reward. Like right now, you know what happened to the banks? If you got over $250,000, if you want one of those lucky banks where they insure all of the amounts of depositors, the most the banks are going to insure you is $250,000. What are you going to do with the rest of that money? The bank goes down, you actually lose that money. So that is one of the benefits, that cash is not your friend. You don't really want anybody to access that. Hacking is at an all-time high. If you are places using your debit card, you're opening yourself up to hackers to get that information and take your cash, your hard-earned money. We know how the banks act when it's time to get cash back. 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 5 business days, all these other time frames, but I gave it to you in a couple minutes. But on a credit card, that's not your money. We can let them get access to all of those numbers, and you just call that wasn't me. They're kicking that money back right to you. So you see how you saved yourself from liability, and now you're using their money. Let's take it a step further. When we're using these credit cards to make our purchases, they actually come with a lot of guarantees, warranties, and things. So now we actually got a built-in warranty on the credit card that we usually will pay cash for just by using credit. Let's get the benefits for our benefit. And then one more step further. Me, I travel a lot. I'm trying to remember the last time I paid for a flight. Airline miles are just so beautiful. Every time I look at that screen, it says $600, $800, it says apply points here. I just click the button. That feels way better than using cash. So the same cash I was going to spend on the same items I was going to buy, I use on the credit card to give me reward points. Now I'm able to fly and travel, and then I can get gift cards for my stay there when I want to eat. I can use the points to buy a rental, and I can use the points to buy a room. So the regular things, a rental, eating, a room, and a hotel, and a car, we got all those things just by using credit, by maximizing it. So what we're going to do while we got these secure credit cards, credit limit increase, a lot of people forget to do that. I've heard people that told me that they had the same limit for the last year, or 2 years, maybe even 5 years. That's a no-no. You want to apply for credit limit increases every 3 to 6 months. Some credit cards let you do 3 months. On a more typical end, 6 months is usually the range they want before you do credit limit increase. One thing to keep in mind, credit limit increase can usually go to 3 times the amount of your current credit. So if you got $5,000 and you've been maintaining it for 6 months, don't be scared to ask for $15,000 when you ask for credit limit, because all they can do is counter somewhere. But if you ask for 10 and it was one to give you 15, you just took $5,000. So what they say, ask you shall receive. So yeah, don't be scared to ask, and keep in mind 3 times the amount of your current limit. So every 3 to 6 months, we ask them for credit limits, and we can think about at least 3 times our current limit. And then we want to do this for at least 2 years, because remember what we after. We after a mortgage and everything our heart desires. So things to keep in mind. This is for a person that's just going from basically scratch. But if you already have some things, maybe like some student loans, maybe you got a credit card and you was in college, you still may be managing, maybe you just got a high balance on you, maybe you just need to pay it down. All these other things, you maybe got some furniture, you may moved out early, you got some furniture, you paid that down, so good account reporting. You may not need all these other accounts, but these other things may help you. So your goal is having a good mix of credit, making sure that's accomplished, and then staying consistent and being disciplined. That is so important. Having good credit is really a test of disciplined people. I want to let you know that. That's what they test. If you're a disciplined person, you're going to have good credit, because all the things it takes, like imagine seeing $20,000, $30,000, and $50,000 available to you, but you don't spend it and you continue to be responsible. You're telling someone that, because the average person that has that much available, you know what they do? In a couple of years, they're like, oh yeah, man, I got bad credit now. They ran off on that credit. They weren't responsible. So that's a picture that's painted over time when they can see that that's available to you and you're managing and responsible. That's how you get more. And that's the goal, to get more. So here's the beauty about all this. I talk about that because it's like, all right, sometimes I want to invest in a business. Life came up, things happened, but it's like, okay, I do understand that, so there is a way you do that. Create an LLC. If you think that, and then this is the best thing about it. I like to say, having credit and not needing it is way better than needing credit and not having it. So what we're going to do is it's 2 ways to approach life. You're either reactive or proactive. I like to think of the proactive mindset. And the proactive mindset is being able to foresight and see things before they happen and put yourself in position. We use their, i.e., a winner's mindset. A winner doesn't have excuses. They have how they prevail in spite of. So you ask yourself, which one are you by what you're doing? So in this proactive mindset that we're adopting, we are already thinking about the future, and if things may happen that's outside of our control, we set ourselves up for that versus that person that said, oh no, life happened, but they didn't have anything to roll into. We're not going to be those people. So we create an LLC, we get it set up properly, and we go around and we get business credit cards with 0% interest. So let's say right now, I got a company, GM, they'll give you $40,000, 0% interest for 12 months. So you just got that one card just sitting over there. Like you say, life happens. What you can do is charge that on that card, have your 0% interest, but then you keep your credit report clean. Your personal credit report is clean. All you do is get an entry on there that we can get removed, so now it's like it never happened, and you can hold that on the business side and continue to get personal approvals whenever you need personal credit, instead of your personal credit just being inhibited because you're carrying a balance and you say, oh no, we already thought about this and we put you in position. And then we can continue to run this business play, get you 100, 200, 300, I'm over $1 million in credit. I'm sure I can do that for you. I've helped people do this. So you can do this. This is not hard at all. It's just about following the blueprint, putting yourself in position, and thinking long term. So, in conclusion, like I said, it's better to have credit not needed than to want credit and don't have it. So I hope this helped you guys today, be able to build credit and then understand the mindset it takes to actually be strong in credit. And let's get those 850 scores.